On 27 June, another case emerged that immediately caught our contact tracers' attention. This case reported no interaction with the previous family cluster, but they live in the same block on a different level. So it immediately caught the attention of our contact tracers, and our antennas were up. Our contact tracers decided to investigate further and flag it out for closer monitoring. Even as epidemiological investigations are ongoing, we decided to take additional precautionary measures beyond the usual measures that have already been activated upon the detection of these cases, including quarantine and so on. We decided to proactively identify all the 58 households residing in the same section of the block that is served by a common lift lobby and stairwell, given the possibility that there may be inadvertent contacts between the households. We contacted them to check if they are well. 2 of them were unwell and were tested. The results were negative. Everyone in the identified units is then put on active phone surveillance. In addition, the affected common areas in the block has been disinfected and regular cleaning up has been stepped up. As these households are not really close contacts of the confirmed cases, they are assessed to have a lower risk of being infected. But we want to be a little bit more careful.
I'm referring to the Tampines group. You mentioned there were 160 people in 58 households, but then only about half have come forward for swabbing. So if it's not compulsory and they're only under house surveillance, active house surveillance, I know they're not close contacts, but if one person could have gotten it from somebody else in the block, they all pose a risk. So if it's an optional thing, they may be asymptomatic, would they then go on to pass the virus on to others?
And so far, we have a significant number of them stepping forward. We have tested them. They have all turned out negative. And there will be some more of them coming forward over the next 2 days. And beyond that, we are continue to engage them and to encourage them to come forward to be tested. But because they are really not in the high-risk group, we do not yet want to impose a mandatory testing on them. However, if we do find additional cases among these voluntary testing, we may decide to take further measures. And what the further measures will be will depend on the nature of the cases that we detect, whether they are in the same household, whether there are specific features, whether they are actually quite random, and it may become necessary. And when that time comes, we'll make an assessment whether we will impose a mandatory testing for the rest of those that are living in the same section of the block, or even if we detect other cases, we may need to extend the testing to the whole block. So this will depend on the situation as it develops over the next couple of weeks. So we continue to monitor them. And because of the number of cases that we are testing today within this block, it would already be quite useful as an indication, as a surveillance of the underlying cases that may be transmitting within the block. So I think the initial test will give us a sense of whether there is likely to be a real problem or not. And then having done those tests, then we'll make an assessment whether is it necessary for us to extend these tests further. Maybe DMS will add on.
Yes, I hesitate to say cluster, but really the number of cases that we have in the block in Tampines reflects a much more aggressive approach we're taking now towards contact tracing, ring fencing, isolating, and also making every attempt to disrupt any potential and possible chain of transmission may arise from the cases that we see in our community. And this is in part driven by the fact that now that we have come out of phase 1 and circuit breaker into phase 2, we are determined to do our best to pick up as far as possible every community case and to prevent further onward transmission of infection to others in the community so that we do not need to see us progressing back into restrictions as we had in circuit breaker or phase 1.